Yeah, I've heard some pretty sad news. I mean, it was coming, you know, for us basketball fans. But Tim Duncan has decided to retire from the NBA after 19 seasons, and it was kind of you could see it that it was time. When the Spurs were playing against the Oklahoma City Thunder this past Western Conference semifinals uh, series between them, I could see Tim Duncan actually was getting to the point. I mean, I have been noticing since 2009, I guess. Maybe around 2009, 2010 was when I really could see that Tim Duncan had started to decline as a player. But he still was a very effective player. But this past year was the first time I really saw that Tim Duncan was actually starting to hurt his team out there. You know, he was starting to he was becoming a liability almost sometimes defensively. He had totally lost not totally, but really lost his touch around the basket. Like a lot of the baskets that he was missing, Tim Duncan would have finished easily 5-6 years ago. So he's hurting his team. The mind was willing, but the body was weak, I guess. Right? So Tim Duncan decided to retire. And I remember, during his prime, he was considered the most fundamentally sound player in the NBA, a title that he gave up to, I guess, a guy like Chris Paul, But Tim Duncan was the most flashiest guy. He wasn't the most celebrated player in the media. Usually that title goes to a guy like Kobe Bryant or LeBron James. People like to see the athletic swingman or perimeter player dazzle them. People generally can't relate to these big lumbering giants like the Wilt Chamberlains and the Shaqs and the Jabbars and the Tim Duncans, but the big man is a dying breed, and one of the best has left the game. Speaking of Jabbar, I saw something interesting just now, that Tim Duncan and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar are the only players in NBA history to have 26,000 points, at least 15,000 rebounds, and 3,000 blocks. And the period of time called the Tim Duncan Popovich era, from 1997 to 2016, during that time period, no other team during the regular season had been that successful. And when I say that team, I'm not talking about NBA. I mean pro sports in North America, whether it be baseball, basketball, football, or hockey. The Spurs won 71% of their games during that time period. Every season, 17 of those 19 seasons, the Spurs won 19 games. And in those 2 seasons where they didn't, it was a lockout, which reduced the number of games to 50 in 99 and 66 in 2010, 2011, I think it was. Now, it wasn't just team success, though. He was no Robert Horry. This is a guy who was a high impact player. All right, he was a 5-time NBA champion, 3-time NBA Finals MVP, 2-time NBA Most Valuable Player, 15-time NBA All-Star, the NBA All-Star Game MVP back in 2000, a 10-time All-NBA First Team player, a 3-time All-NBA Second Team player, a 2-time All-NBA Third Team player, 15 times altogether on the All-NBA teams, an 8-time All-NBA 8-time NBA All-Defensive First Teamer, a 7-time NBA All-Defensive Second Teamer. He was the 1997-98 Rookie of the Year. All right. His collegiate career was phenomenal. He was a National College Player of the Year back in 1997. The 2-time consensus First Team All-American, 96-97. All right. 3-time NABC Defensive Player of the Year, 95, 96, and 97. The 2-time ACC Player of the Year, 96 and 97. And his number 21 was retired by Wake Forest. So his collegiate career itself probably could have got him into the Basketball Hall of Fame. Um, there's some argument as to whether or not he's the best power forward of all time. Some people will say Karl Malone. Maybe even some old school guys might even say a guy like Bob Pettit. I can understand their arguments. I know one of my subscribers, Bazooka Ike, thinks it's Karl Malone. Uh, maybe. Like I said, I think NBA championships can be a bit overrated. I think if it wasn't for Michael Jordan, Karl Malone probably would have had 2 NBA titles in his resume. So, but I will say this. I just don't think when it comes to team success and when it comes to playing on the big stage, being productive on the big stage, saving your best for last, and being a high-impact player both regular season and playoffs, Tim Duncan was phenomenal. True, he played with a lot of talent around him, the Manu Ginobili's and Tony Parker's, and the first half of his career, well, the first 6 years of his career, really. You know, it was the Twin Towers with him and Dale Robinson, where Tim slowly was taken over as the first option of those two. Yeah, he did play with a lot of talent, you know, and I think Steven Jackson was one of his teammates. But there have been other players who played with just as much talent, if not more, who no one questions their legacy. You know, Isaiah Thomas, Magic Johnson, Kobe Bryant, Bill Russell, okay, Larry Bird. They've all played with talent and around talent. No one questions their legacy, but for some reason, a lot of people like to question Tim Duncan's. And yes, sometimes Tim Duncan did play the center position and guarded against other centers, but generally speaking, his best years, he was a power forward. So I like to say that thank you, Tim Duncan, for letting us watch you play the game of basketball the way I think it should be played, and letting your game speak for you. And we look forward to seeing you in 4 or 5 years in the Nations Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. Thank you for your career.